Hello and welcome to another Design Clips here at W+9. This is Dawn, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a closer look at some of our newest products that just released on August 31st. Now this is our beautiful butterflies stamp and dies, as well as our new clear cut stackers hexagons. We're going to be working with the Distress Oxide inks and water. So for that, we're going to be working on watercolor paper, and I'm trying this new B Paper Company watercolor paper. I picked this up at Michael's and it was actually very inexpensive. This is 6x9, so I've just cut them in half and I'll trim them down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when I'm done. Now this is the beautiful butterfly stamp set, and this is a collaboration with Stephanie Lowe Creative. They are beautifully illustrated and I just love them so much. Now the detailed illustration would be great for Copic coloring or painting individually, but I wanted to show you another way that you can use them if coloring just isn't quite your thing, another really stunning way to use them. We're going to be using the dies and a little bit of fun foam to create a solid image stamp that we're then going to use to do our filling in of color. Now, if you don't happen to have the dies for this set, you could always stamp the image onto the fun foam there and then just hand trim it out, and you would have your own custom little fun foam stamp. Another fun thing to do with that method is to stamp the image and then cut out just portions of the stamp. So then you would just have little areas of solid images. And I've done this several times before. I think I even shared a video in one of the online card classes, how I created little individual stamps by just trimming out the portions that I wanted from fun foam and using them as stamps. So it's a really great technique and it has a lot of uses. I'm just going to attach this to an acrylic block using a little removable adhesive, and this is going to hold it in place just fine. Now it's time to get onto the fun part, the stamping. We're using Distress Oxide ink and we're going to be using water. Now I'm going to apply it with a paintbrush here, and I've got a glass of water off to the side, so when my hand disappears off there, I'm actually just wetting my paintbrush. I'm going to put a little ink onto my stamp here. I'm going to wet my paintbrush, and then I'm just going to use a little water to spread this around. The more ink and the less water that you have on the stamp, obviously the darker the color is going to be. The more water and the less ink, the lighter the color is going to be. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that down. And one of the really cool things about using the oxides for this is because when they get wet, they do this oxidation process. So the colors kind of separate, and some of the individual colors that make up that color will come through. And in this case, with the fossilized amber, it's really pretty. It's almost like this coral color will come through in certain places, and you'll be able to see it later in the video as it starts to dry. You'll see some corally colors coming through on the darker, more heavily pigmented stamped images. Now, it's not necessary to re-ink your stamp each time. This is going to give me variation in the strength of color. So sometimes I'll pick up a little more ink and then just spread that around. Other times I'll stamp and then just add more water. And again, that's just to give me a little variation in the strength of color. So let's just talk about the elephant in the room here, and that my nails. Those nails are atrocious. They're not acrylic. They're the dip nail polish. So I guess if we're being honest, it's like an acrylic overlay. The powder is colored. So they dip your nails in this powder, knock off the excess, and then do a layer of like a fixative, and then they dip your nail, knock off the excess, and so on. So the process to get these off, it's not as easy as just taking some remover and taking the polish off. It's a process. And as much as I love manis and petties, am I the only one who the whole time you're sitting there are just like, can we get on with it? I've got things to do. So I have not had time to go and spend like 2.5 hours in the salon getting my nails taken off. So just bear with me. I'm going to try to get them off myself. Kelly, my friend, she did it with me. She's taken hers off. She said it's a process, and she would recommend just getting a pedicure and soaking them off while you're getting a pedicure. But again, time is an issue for me. So we shall see what happens. Hopefully in the next video, my nails will not look this horrible. So when you're ready to switch colors, it's really easy. You're just going to clean off that stamp, wipe off your work surface. If you have any ink that's kind of sitting on top of the stamp, just re-wet it with some clean water. It'll reactivate that ink, and then use a paper towel to just kind of sop up that extra ink, and then you're ready to go with the next color. Wipe up your surface, again, with just a paper towel. I'm working on the Tim Holtz glass mat. I'm I'm really enjoying it. My only issue is the glare. So I'm trying to figure out a way to set up my lights where I don't have this horrible glare. Here, when I'm zoomed in, it's not as bad. But when I zoom out to give you guys a larger area to view, I have light boxes and they're set up at each corner of the station, and then I have one that's behind me. It acts as a fill light. I have it pointed up at the ceiling so that it reflects off the ceiling and back down. And again, it just gives that nice fill light so I don't get hard shadows. Again, with the glare problem, when I zoom out, if the light boxes are too close, they'll reflect back in the surface, which is the way you get the best lighting, right? If they're a little bit closer, I get the optimal lighting. If I pull them back out, I have to up the exposure on the camera, which then blows out my whites. Again, I know this is probably more information than you guys want to know, but if you film videos yourself, this is something that's useful. So yeah, I'll have to up the exposure because I have to pull the lights further back. Then I blow out my whites. So it is kind of, in this video, I'm trying to get it just right. So if there's any areas that are just a little off, I apologize. I'm going to get it figured out because, again, I am enjoying working on this particular mat. It's very easy to clean up. I like the white area on the side for seeing the true colors of my watercolors because I do that a lot with distress inks and with fine art colors. So, and it keeps that palette in view for you guys, and because that's something that I get asked a lot on the videos is if I can show my palette. So that's definitely something that I like about this. I can fit it all in frame. Again, it's just something I'm gonna have to figure out with my lighting and get it perfect. So if you guys can just bear with me, I should be able to get it figured out soon. Okay, so I stamped several of these in several different colors. I've let them dry, and now I'm coming in and over stamping that with the image from the Beautiful Butterfly stamp set. Now this is the image that we used the die from to cut that first stamp from the Fun Foam, and I'm inking it up with the exact same colors, and then I'm over stamping where we originally stamped. I'm not worried about lining it up perfectly. In fact, I'm purposely offsetting it just a little bit. The finished pattern is going to have lots of overlapping images in it anyway, so there is no reason to stress yourself out over lining this up. The imperfect look of this pattern is what's so appealing. And then once I'm done with all of the overstamping, I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill in all of the gaps in between with just the open lined image. So some of the images will have the color behind them, and some of them will be uncolored. That sounds good. I'm going to rotate the stamp as necessary so that it doesn't appear that they're all going in the same direction, and to best fit the image in between some of those empty spaces. And just like before, I'm going to go ahead and repeat this for all of the colors. And again, don't worry about overlapping. If they overlap, it's fine. We're going to be adding that large negative cut beautiful hexagon over the top. So you're not going to see this pattern in full. So it's really not going to be a big deal. So now we have these gorgeous patterns and we can start working on our sentiment focal points. And for those, we're going to be using the beautiful stacked sentiment there. We're going to die cut those from our new Clear Cut Stackers hexagon die. Now this beautiful sentiment is included with the Beautiful Butterflies companion die, and I just love these. We have several of these sentiments now, and this is the newest edition. So this is the new Clear Cut Stackers hexagon die, and there are 9 dies in all, and these are nested so that you can use the actual die cut itself, or you can layer them together and create frames of various sizes. We're going to use this one. We're going to nest that beautiful right inside like so, and then we're going to die cut that. And that's going to give us this hexagon shape with the word beautiful die cut from it, so we'll have that negative beautiful inside that shape. And you can use the resulting letters to create another card. In fact, I did create another one, and I'll have that posted over on our Instagram soon. So if you're not already following us on Instagram, I highly recommend it. We post a lot of stuff on Instagram that we don't always post on the blog or do videos for here on YouTube either. So if you want to see more projects using our products and stuff, make sure you follow us on Instagram as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do this 3 more times because I need 4 in total for today's card set. And then it's time to go ahead and start die cutting our birthday word. And for that, I'll be using the Scripty Birthday from our Happy Birthday die. Now, I'm going to be cutting this 8 times because I'm going to be double stacking these sentiments so that my die cut has a little more weight and it stands out from the card. Now, normally people do like 4 is kind of like the standard. I'm using 140-pound cardstock, so I can get away with 2. It's still going to give me a pretty good weight. Now for the top layer of each of those birthdays, I want them to match the card. So I'm going to color a piece of cardstock with each of the corresponding colors of oxides that I used for my stamping. And then I'm going to die cut the birthday from that. Now with these more intricate dies, if you find that your paper is sticking in the die, you can use the release holes on the back and a paper piercer to just pop those right out. A lot of people sometimes say that rubbing the die with a dryer sheet helps, and a lot of people say that cutting with a wax sheet in between your die and your paper makes that die cut just fall right out. Now, I haven't tried it, but if you're having difficulty, that's definitely something that you could try. To adhere these two together, I'm going to be using the Lawn Fawn glue tube here. Now, I've been testing this out for a couple weeks now, and I am really liking it. I like it better than the spray adhesive because the spray adhesive can be quite messy. And this is super easy to use. It comes out very easily, and it has enough grip that when you lay the two on top of each other, it holds it in place. It's not too slippery and slidey, but it doesn't grip so hard that you can't shift it as needed. So some of the glues that I've tried, they're too slick. You put them on top of each other and just touching it kind of moves it all over the place. And then others are too strong. As soon as you put it down, you can't move it at all. This is kind of like the perfect little median. Just enough grip that it holds in place, doesn't slip all over, but not so tight that you can't shift it as needed. Okay, so I've trimmed down all those panels to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and now it's time to adhere our focal point here to the card. For that, I'm going to use some 3M foam tape, and I'm trimming it down to fit in between the letters so that we can add some stability back there, so when this goes through the mail, it holds up nicely. And I'm going to center this about 2/3 of the way up the card. I'm looking for the middle point of that hexagon to fall at about 2/3 at the 2/3 intersection. So far, I'm liking this paper. I haven't tested it enough to say if I love it for all watercolor techniques. However, for this, I actually really liked it. I feel like it held up really well. I was able to move that, once I had foam taped that center part down, on some of them, I had to relift it and get it perfectly straight or centered. It held up well. It didn't damage the paper. So far, I'm liking it, but I will give you guys a further update on that paper and other techniques with watercolor. For the birthday, I'm going to go ahead and again adhere that using the Lawn Fawn glue tube. And then to finish this off, we're going to add the Wishes sentiment. And that's from our Birthday Wishes stamp set. And I've stamped that in our Pure Color dye ink and warm wool. I thought it was the perfect color to complement each of the colors that I chose for this card set. And it just kept that nice fall color palette. And again, I used some 3M foam tape to adhere that just under the birthday. And that completes our cards. So I adhered them all to a standard 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch oatmeal card base, and that completes them. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this closer look at the Beautiful Butterflies stamp set. Again, this is a collaboration with Stephanie Lowe Creative. We have a couple of other stamp sets that we collaborated with her on. She's an amazing artist, and I really think that when you put 2 artists together, it really brings out the best designs. So I'm super excited to introduce her into the W+9 family, and I hope to be working with her again more in the future. Remember, if you want to find out more about the products featured in today's video, you can find all of the links in the description box below. You can also visit us on our blog at stampawaywithme.blogspot.com. You can visit us at our store at w+9.com, and again, you can find everything in the description box below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!